Hey viewers, back again with a new profile pic, and this time we've got a mod that goes above and beyond most others. Instead of adding a single quest or dungeon, the Gorelords of Goretown by Gary Oldman68 adds a whole new world space. Yes, around 5 years ago, Gary Oldman took a break from acting and directing and decided to make an ambitious Fallout 4 mod. Unfortunately, it has a dependency on another mod, Mutilated Dead Bodies, because I guess Fallout 4 didn't have enough decorative gore models already. Now, this presents a problem for me because while YouTube might let me get away with showing some gore, they'll surely take umbrage with the visible breasts and vaginas and penises the mutilated bodies have. I tried to censor the models myself by recoloring them green, but I screwed up the colors and now it looks like the Gorelords had a vendetta against the Blue Man Group. And since I can only change the textures, not models, I can't exactly remove their genitalia, so after a few hours I gave up on that and I'm just gonna pixelize the screen when I need to. Anyways, the only way to enter Gary Oldman's new terrain is via a vertibird right next to the Concord Water Tower. Guarding it is a chubby-faced Brotherhood captain who is there to inform us of an evil Raider King in Goretown that needs to die. She's one of the few NPCs in this mod that isn't permanently hostile. Once you get on her vertibird and it lands on an elevated highway platform, you'll immediately be assaulted by raiders. After moving through a linear path and killing a few raiders, you may get the impression this isn't an open world kind of mod, but it does completely open up later. More importantly, anyone with a pair of eyes will also notice the mod's second biggest problem. The nav meshes are broken. 90+% of the time, melee enemies will literally stand still and allow you to kill them. And those with firearms will shoot back but be mostly immobile targets. At best, they might reflexively move from side to side. There are a few locations where nav meshes actually work and you'll see AI move, but nearly all of the time, this is what you have to deal with. Fallout 4's AI is already dumb, but in the Gorelands, everyone seems to have been ritually lobotomized. This belies the Nexus description that implies the mod is some kind of ultimate challenge. Well, without working AI, there cannot possibly be any challenge. But that's the second biggest problem. The biggest problem is one we are all too familiar with, and it's broken precombines. Yes, this mod breaks precombines all over the Commonwealth and even Nuka World in Far Harbor, including in more intensive areas like Diamond City and Goodneighbor. This is totally unnecessary because the mod doesn't remove objects in these areas, it was just an accident. There's also several identical to master records that should have been cleaned up. For example, the cryolator was overwritten, but nothing was changed about it. Mr. Oldman just accidentally overwrote the original record while copying the cryolator to make a new weapon, which has a broken sound effect that never stops. Wonderful. To be fair to him, these are easy mistakes to make in the creation kit. The appearance of the new land is quite poor. The LODs are ugly as sin, there's horrible Z-fighting and blown-out lighting, NVIDIA God rays shining right through the terrain, floating objects, misaligned objects, but all that I could be somewhat forgiving towards, if not for the previous issues. Once you get off the highway ramp, you'll probably trudge through the forest and move to Goretown Park, whereupon you'll encounter another problem with this mod. The copy-pasted interiors. 90% of the buildings in this mod have no interiors. Well, that's not too dissimilar from vanilla, but the buildings with interiors are almost all copy-pasted from the Commonwealth and Nuka World, with no real changes except replacing the enemies with raiders and adding different loot. At least nav meshes work in these buildings. Strangely, many interiors were copy-pasted multiple times. The Super Duper Mart in Lexington is in 2 different places, so is this apartment building, so is the combat zone. If you're going to lazily copy buildings, why not at least use different ones every time? Why, Gary? Why? Another thing that irked me is the mod adds new drugs, which is fine, but they're marked as unique items, so every single time you pick one up, the game pauses and plays a musical sting while Nate says, "Perfect, nice." It is extremely annoying. The drugs are also very overpowered too. Some of them slow time for around 10 minutes straight, letting you clear out entire areas with total ease, which further removes any challenge there might have been. Despite the description's claim that resources are scarce, ammo, chems, and food are readily available in the Gorelands, and there's beds placed everywhere too for survival mode. On harder difficulties, however, you might still run out of ammo because of the inflated health bars on some of the boss enemies. It's not like it's difficult to kill these bosses, half of them don't even move or attack due to the broken nav meshes. The only difference between very easy and very hard is you spend 4 times longer left-clicking on a static target. Additionally, killing giant bosses like the Claw or the Ghoulzilla make them fly into the air. I suppose the physics engine doesn't like them being scaled up. Hopefully these guys didn't have any keys or important items in their corpses, because now I can't reach them. As hideous as it all is, you have to appreciate the sheer scale of the Gore lands. At first I thought it was just these 3 smaller areas, but no, you can go out and explore and there's things to find everywhere. Unfortunately, as you push forward, the landscape gets uglier and flatter, and points of interest get further away from each other, increasing the tedium. I think the world was too big for Gary to populate it properly. You could probably get 5 or 6 hours of playtime out of this mod. I spent around 10 hours running around trying to find everything. That's why this video took so long, but it really wasn't worth it. Exploring will reward you with nothing but the novelty of seeing huge empty cities, lakes of blood surrounded by cracked flatlands, a town where everyone has vitiligo, a copy of Vault 75 that's empty and unfinished, a copy of Mass Fusion that's inaccessible. Liberty Prime is here, but he dies in like 5 shots for some reason, even though he's the one enemy that really should be a bullet sponge if you're gonna have them. There's a huge sky tower that looks like it should have had a boss at the top, but it didn't spawn in, I guess. It's just not a good time. There's many areas I had to no-clip to, since even with a power armor jetpack, you'd have a hard time reaching them otherwise. There's some good ideas in the Gorelords of Goretown. I like the collectible tarot cards and bobbleheads. Having a new world space to explore is interesting just by itself, or at least the idea of it is, but the flaws are too numerous to ignore. If not for the nav meshes and pre-combine issue, it might be worth checking out as a slaughter map if you had nothing else to do, but the technical problems completely kill it. I don't blame Gary Oldman though, he's an actor first and foremost. What does he know about making Fallout mods? Nothing. So of course it turned out bad. Anyways, next time I'll try to review something good, something you folks want to see. Until then, toodaloo, goodbye, and